We were.
Here we go.
That's okay. Anyways, well, let's start that little part over again. So we were talking about. I know we got it all recorded. We were talking about the kind of the top three things that investors are really struggling with when dispoing their deal. I apologize for that. And you were saying the first one is anyway. Sorry about that. Boy, that flubbered that all up. Go ahead, give me that again.
Yeah, all good. I would just say if you're only marketing using an email channel, you're probably feeling a little bit of a squeeze, right? It's been a pretty noisy channel the last 18 months to 2 years. So yeah, I would say diversify with at least text and an outbound campaign. A lot of people don't have an outbound campaign to buyers, as in calling, right? Because it is more time intensive.
Yeah.
But definitely, I mean, David, you've been in the game a while. The call is probably the most effective form of sales conversion. And the dispo side, it's still a sales call. It's like the same thing with sellers, right? You just got to treat it. So that's one thing.
100%. You were talking about emails being people's email boxes being overwhelmed, which for sure. I'm looking at mine. I have 32,884 unread emails, and that will make some of the OCD people in the audience really twitchy. But the email is fantastic. It definitely is a great way to get your message out there. But the space is filled with kind of knuckleheads who are just blasting junk out there. So I think you're right. I think it's hard to differentiate yourself. So one thing that we always found was just kind of shocking or at least funny subject lines, just something that will get that email opened. But yes, 1,000% phone calls are where deals are done. So when we had our own dispo team here, that was always important. As everything that we did, whether it was an email, a text, an RVM, it all pushed people to get on the phone.
Yeah, for sure. And I think emails are still a great way to get exposure for the deal, right? I would never say don't send out an email to your list or even new buyers, right? I'm just saying if that's the only form, engagement is down a little bit due to, the amount of people that are in the email channel right now on the dispo front. And also just where the market is, right? Like I mentioned, we are slowly but surely transitioning to that buyer's market, which buyers ultimately become a little bit more picky, right? Because they're feeling the burn on some soft costs with days on market, increased inventory, seller concessions, price reductions, you name it, it's all up year over year. So the flippers feel that, right? So they have to account for that. And then wholesalers, you got to get a little bit deeper, right? You got to make sure that you're hitting the right buyers,
Yeah, I think that's important for wholesalers to understand that markets have a cycle. We're kind of more on the down or at the bottom of that cycle right now. And yeah, I agree. As somebody who has a rehab on the market right now, I just got a note from my realtor a little bit ago that not only did we give 11,000 in concessions, but now they're going to come back with a big list of things on repairs on a house that's 10 years old. So it's wild out there.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. We got a house listed, and we don't list that many houses, and so I'm reaching out to my realtor. It's only been like 3 weeks, but I'm like, hey, what's the deal? And she's like, hey, Daniel, this is normal now.
This is where we're at now.
I'm not sure when's the last time you listed a house on MLS, but this is where we're at, right?
So, and it's not the end of the world. It's more of a normal market. It's not that hyper market that we experienced in the mid 2000s, and then again 5 or 6 years ago. This is just normal. It's okay. And that's one thing I like to tell people, like, don't just because if you just started real estate when it was 3% interest rates and things were like wild, like relax. It's okay. This is normal. People, if you could sell a wholesale house then, you can 1,000%. It's twice as easy to wholesale now because back then there was no distress, right? Anybody could have taken any piece of crap, just put it on MLS and sold it. Now MLS is slowing down. So this is a great spot for wholesalers to be able to come in and add value and, get things at the right price as sellers start to realize that, that it's just not the market that it once was.
Right. Yeah, they'll come around too. But you mentioned 3 things, right?
So
So 3 things that we're kind of seeing on our end as far as, some common problems. I would say another one, it sounds pretty simple, but, whenever we see people with an outbound call campaign to buyers, more often than not, they are treating it like it's a one-off call and they are never going to speak to that person ever again.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, David, I have this deal right around the corner from you, man. Are you interested? You still doing deals? They say, yes. Okay, great. Send them the details. They say, hey, I'm not interested in this one. Boom, click, done. Never going to talk to that person ever again because he wasn't interested in my deal.
Right.
Well, what if that guy, if you just asked him 2 simple questions, he said, well, hey, David, 1, what do you want to buy? Right. But 2, like, how many deals do you want to do this year? Or what are your goals for this year, David?
Yeah.
Right. And if you told me, you said, well, hey, we're on track to do 150 deals this year. Right. Or I want to do 200 deals this year. Then that's going to change my perspective of my conversation that I'm having with you. Right. I'm going to now reframe this to, hey, man, David, let's go to lunch sometime. Right. Like I want to form a relationship with you. Right. Because, I think what we've kind of strayed away from on the dispo side in the last few years is really the relational based selling that, I think that the business was semi built on, especially, I mean, you tell me when you were getting started, you were wholesaling. I mean, you go out and manually build a buyer's list and you go meet buyers at RIA meetups. You had, 90% of the legwork done for a lot of your deals because you had the relationships, right? So
I think for sure there's 2 different versions of wholesaling in general. There's local, which is that belly to belly. I'm going to go meet people at Starbucks. I'm going to go to the RIA as far as on, looking for buyers. And then you definitely have that relationship. Hey, Daniel, what's going on with the kids? Saw your dog, whatever, right? And my emails back in those days were very relational. I mean, my emails might go out and say, hey, next week I'm going on a cruise. I really got to sell these last 2 properties. If I'm not in Miami at 4:00 on Sunday, I'm going to be in trouble. Like it's that super, super personal. Probably not as much so if you're on a virtual model, meaning you're investing in other markets outside of where you live. But to your point though, man, we're in the trust economy, right? People want to do deals with people they know, people they like, and people they trust. So you do have to be able to build that kind of legitimate rapport with people where, they want to stay on the phone with you. They want to have a conversation and tell you, hey, this is how many deals I did last year. This is what I want to do this year. I think that's an amazing point. I love asking that of people what their goals are.
Yeah. And look, I get it. It's a volume game, right? Like we need to talk to as many people as possible. We need to get this deal sold 100%. My take on it is just 2 additional questions outside of their buy boxes, right? One is going to be the deals that you're doing. How many deals do you want to do this year?
Right.
If you say you only want to do 1 deal and you've already done it, I'm probably not going to have a long conversation with you. But same thing goes for that second piece, which is how much do you look to make per deal?
Yeah.
Right. Or what are your return metrics if it's a landlord, right? Now, if you tell me, hey, I want to make $100K per deal, I'm gonna be like, man, I don't know if me and you are gonna, I don't know if I can support, what you want, right? But if you tell me, hey man, I only want to make 15K per pop and I want to do 200 deals this year, even if it's in a market that I'm not in, I'm going to want to ask more questions from there, right? And build a relationship with that buyer.
Yeah, 100%. I was talking to, maybe I was in a group the other day and somebody was kind of complaining about wholesalers in general. And I'm like, I kind of take offense to that because I feel like I've been doing this long enough. I want to be a spokesman for all those wholesalers who are getting beat on. But she was saying something about, none of the deals the wholesaler ever sends her, no wholesaler ever sends her a deal that's good. I said, okay, cool. So I jumped in there. I'm like, well, tell me a little bit about what you're doing. Oh, well, I'm in California. I'm investing in Virginia. And, by the time, whatever it is, all my costs and everything, I can't make any money. And, a couple questions later, so she's working remote, which is great, awesome, but she's hiring a contractor, a licensed contractor who's very expensive. She's using hard money, right? So she's adding in all of these extra expenses. So those are the types of conversations to have with people. Like, hey, tell me about your business. Tell me what's going on. How do you like to buy these properties? Are you using cash, hard money? How do you fund your deal? That's just the easy way to ask. People basically, do you have the money or not? Is how are you funding your deal? And yeah, I mean, our deals aren't going to be. Not every deal is going to be for everybody. There's no reality where that deal works for everybody. So I love what you're asking. Like, what are you looking to make per deal? Because I can tell you, when I was rehabbing heavily, of course I wanted, even back in those days, 25 to 30,000 per deal. But there were days I took deals knowing I was only going to make 15 on a good day. But the reason I did that is because I needed to keep my crew busy, right? So we always think sometimes that only sellers have a pain point. No, buyers have a pain point too, especially serious buyers who need to keep that business, that wheel spinning over and over and over again.
Right. Yeah. I think what's important to note for a lot of people is, the wholesaler does not determine what a good deal is or not.
Right.
The seller doesn't. It's not title. It's not you or me. It's the buyer. It's entirely subjective to what that buyer is willing to make and what their return metric threshold is, right? Yeah. So when it comes down to whether it's a good deal or not, a good deal for you might be a great deal for me, right? So I might be willing to pay more. So that's one thing we do great at Investor Base, I'll say, is identifying the most likely buyers for your deal, but also the buyer who will be willing to pay the most based on their prior transaction history.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. You remember when it was hot and crazy, 3-4 years ago? It feels like it's been forever, but it wasn't that long ago. And, people were putting out just these crap deals. Like literally I got one time and it was just like rusty metal shed from Home Depot, like Aero shed. Like that was the main picture, because they didn't even take the time to like cycle through and put the picture of the front of the house on there. And, people get mad at me because I'd be like, you guys, like, you're cocky and arrogant. Like, you think it's always going to be like this. It is not going to be like this. You're all treating these buyers like crap. You're telling them like, my deal's the best deal. You have to buy my deal. I'm like, the table's going to switch here in a little bit. It always does sooner or later. And, all of a sudden these guys are not going to be doing your bidding wars and all that bullshit. I mean, you ought to treat these guys fair, because they're going to last, and you're going to need to run your business with them in the future. So don't treat them badly.
100%.
Yeah, it's tough. So like the third thing, what's the other big thing that you guys are seeing with clients coming on, and the thing that they need a lot of help with?
I would just say it has to do with their process. I know I'm mentioned this a few times, but a lot of people still rely on JVing and splitting 50% of the deal. A lot of people still rely on a handful of buyers. Take it from me. We solely sold deals to institutional buyers for, 3 years. And then 2022, when rates went up, those guys just went away with a handful of phone calls. And we had 30 deals in escrow and 0 buyers all of a sudden. Right. And when we started to explore local flippers and landlords who was paying the most, we started to realize that we were leaving a lot of money on the table, even with the hedge funds that were paying a lot, because they wouldn't buy every deal. They had they've had a very tight buy box. And so, your buyers, if they have a tight buy box, the leads that you're getting in house are constrained to their buy boxes. Right. So making sure you have enough buyers and the right buyers, I would say, is probably a problem that some people might not even know that they have. Yeah. Right. That we kind of unlock that for them a little bit,
Yeah, 100%. I had gosh, I can't remember what the name, whatever hedge fund it was. We had this great house, beautiful little house, but because 2 doors down there was a water tower, which sounds ridiculous, but it was a water tower. It's just like a street, and then there was like our house, like a little side street, a house, and then there was just like this field, and the city had a water tower built there. They would not buy it because of the water tower. Ridiculous. A water tower, that's probably the best tenant you could ever hope for. It's fenced in, nobody's going to be in there. But yeah, they just, that kind of knocked it out. So my philosophy was always, because I hate the when gurus or whoever get on and say, if you just have 10 good buyers, you'll be set for life. Well, that's a bunch of crap. I'm here to tell you, because of those 10, 2 can go on vacation. 5 of them could have bought all the houses they needed last month. and then maybe, somebody else has moved out of town. I think you need a good, solid buyers list, and I love what you guys do for that. You got to make sure that there are people, to sell your deal to, right? You don't become too dependent and become, basically an employee for those one or two or three people who buy your deal all the time. Because not everybody wants every kind of deal. When I was coming up and learning, I remember going to the RIA and them saying, you should only put 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch houses under contract because that's what everybody wants. And that's a bunch of crap. I will tell you, I will buy every 2-1 that I can possibly find. I find I can get them cheaper. They're better for rentals. I don't have as much turnover because I get older or at least more established couples. I don't have all the kids. I love 2-bedroom, 1-bath. I would buy, if I could buy a street full of them, I'd buy the street right now. So yeah, but there are also people who love burnouts and some people who want mansions on the golf course. So yeah, having a good buyers list is fantastic. And then to kind of go back to where you started at the very beginning, talk to these people, find out what they want, right? So, my advice to people is, hey, Daniel, oh, great, you're not interested in this property. Well, tell me what you are looking for. Oh, well, I'm looking for a purple house on the red hill with a blue door. Man, you know what? I feel like I've got something like that coming up. Let me get your information so I can put you on my VIP list. And that way you'll be one of the first people I call when it comes in. That's it. That's how simple it is. This is not rocket science, anything that we're doing here. It's like, you know what? I think my acquisitions guy might be talking to somebody that's something pretty close to that. That's it. Because I'm sure if you're doing any kind of acquisitions, you should be talking to people.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you can survive with 10 buyers, but when it comes to actually scaling your business, right, you're always going to be constrained.
Yeah.
Right. And you might just be in that survival mode for forever. Right. So
yeah. I don't love having just a couple buyers. 2 times I've never depended on that, but 2 times I had experiences where this came to light. One was this guy I sold a property to, and I think we made like $20,000 on it. It was a good deal. It wasn't in the greatest area, but like 3 days later, he calls me like 7:00 at night. He's like, "Hey," and I was calling Bob. I'm like, "Hey, Bob, how are you, man?" He's like, "Yeah, good. I just want to tell you, good job on that property." I said, "Oh, well, thank you. My team works really hard to find good deals." He's like, "Yeah, I don't normally pay $20,000 assignment fees." I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, hey, I get it. Listen, our team, we absolutely crush it. We want to get these things for the best price possible for you." He's like, "Okay, I just wanted you to know I don't normally pay that." I'm like, "Okay, Bob." And every time after that, he would beat me down like a dog. And finally, I just took him off my list because he's just that guy. He wanted to get every deal for $2,000. And then I had this other one. This kind of worked. It was funny, but it worked out for me. He was this other guy. He would buy the worst houses. Like if you couldn't sell it, you could call this guy, and he'd be like, "Just tell me what you got it at." Okay, I got it at 25,000. He's like, "Man, I could do 27.5." Great. He was like my buyer of last resort. And then inevitably, like 3 days before closing, he'd call me like, "Hey, can you do an amendment and I'll switch the buyer to this person and add like $20,000, and I'm going to take a $20,000 assignment fee?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem," because he was selling them, reselling them to these people in New York, but because he had a good buyers list, So that's the key, is being able to get on the phone, build rapport, and talk to people.
Yeah, 100%. I've been triple closed on once that I can remember, but it happens, unfortunately.
And when I had a dispo team, I would say to him, I'm like, "Listen, if he had a buyer, that means you had a buyer, right? That person is in the database someplace, right? Unless it's the first property they bought in Chattanooga, you can find them either, through your software or, doing a search on props, like someplace this person is out there, unless this is just the very first time they've come into the market. So, if he can find them, you can find them. You didn't call everybody that was on your list. That's what the problem is. All these people are out there. But so yeah, man, to wrap it up, I agree with you, everything you've said. One, you have to have a system, right? You have to have something that's predictable, that over and over and over again is just your go-to process. Simple is scalable. Did I lose? Did you lose? Am I freezing up?
I think I'm still here.
No, yeah, you're there, but I'm freezing up. This is new. Wow. It's not normally me. You can tell I'm in my office and not the studio today. So yeah, you have to have a predictable system. We say all the time, simple is scalable. And, it's got to be something that you just kind of default to, or as you bring in people, right, they can use your software and they know that, hey, we're going to send an email, we're going to call, we're going to RVM, we're going to text, boom, 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 boom. We're going to do these top 10 things. This is how we're going to sell every single deal. You got to get on the phone. You got to talk to people. You got to build some rapport, and you just got to build up as big of a buyer's list as you can.
100%. Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about Investor Base.
So Investor Base, we are a new disposition tool for wholesalers.
Yep.
We just launched about 12 months ago. We've had some serious explosive growth.
Yep.
We give you access to an estimated 10 million real buyers nationwide. Wow. So there's no geographical limitations.
Mm-hmm.
But the secret sauce of what we really do great at Investor Base is we provide you with the most likely buyers for your deal.
Okay.
Right. So when it comes to Investor Base, the only way that you can be a buyer in Investor Base is if you have done a deal. Right.
Oh, okay.
So you have to have either bought a flip or bought a rental property. And when you've done that, what that does is curates a list of real buyers for your deal, right?
Okay.
So we take that a step further and we do what we call smart match, right? Mm-hmm. We're taking the deal that you're trying to sell and we're matching it to deals that buyers have actually done that are similar, right? Mm-hmm. So proximity, time, similar square footage, bed bath count. There's a plethora of variables that we look into to basically match the right people for your deal. That ultimately, what we find in Investor Base is 50% of the people that you speak with will be interested in your deal. And I don't know where else you can go and make, 50% of the calls that you make, you will actually connect with someone who's like, yeah, I'm interested. Send me the details. So it is wild how we're able to produce the right buyers for your deal.
Love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. Guys, I think that is great. That is so important. Just going to one of the companies where you can download a list and randomly skip tracing it and trying to do that and put in all the right filters. It's so time consuming and hit and miss. So it's important to be able to use a service like Investor Base where all of that hard work is already done. They've already got all of that dialed in and confirmed buyers. That's really the magic there. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, historically, just on that note, to produce what we produce for you, it's typically, a 4, 5, 6 step process. Yeah. That is, you're going in, you're finding a cash buyers list, you're finding the flips, you're finding the rentals, you're finding the LLC, you're finding the registered agent, and then you're paying the skip trace. We do all that in one click of a button with free skip tracing.
Nice. That's amazing. I know when we were wholesaling, I had one girl, she was my marketing manager. I paid her $40,000 a year plus bonus. And that was all she did was pull these lists and scrub them and put them together and put them in an Excel sheet and then go skip trace them at 14 cents a piece because we wanted the good skip tracing. So we were paying far more than you're ever going to pay for the software.
100%. We did the same thing for forever.
Yeah. So I love that you've come up with a new plan. And then we've got a link here that we dropped in that is a 14-day free trial, which double what everybody else gives. So I love that.
Yeah. So we try to give you not a lot of reasons to not give us a shot. Yeah. Right. So if you're actively wholesaling, feel free to click on that link. You'll get the 14-day free trial, and then you'll get a discounted first month. So yeah, once you get in, we do a one-on-one onboarding call with you and your team if you have one. Show you on the software, show you how to implement it in your business. It's easy.
It's easy. Cool. I love it. So, and on that note, guys, if you're looking to close more deals and do it easy, Easy REI Closings, we're the nation's largest transaction coordination company and title company, serving investors nationwide. So guys, if you're looking to scale your business, check out Investor Base. I love that. Daniel, thanks so much, man. A 14-day free trial. That's amazing. Everybody that is watching and listening to this should go over there and give it a shot. Daniel, my man, thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon.
Good to see you. Bye, man.